Tem alguma coisa?
Tá?
Tem uma coisa?
Não sei.
morning. The movement of our lives consists of a series of convergences and divergences. Every time we move in one direction, we simultaneously drift away from another. At times, this movement is intentional, and at others, it is beyond our control. At some point, graduates, you and your family decided that Milton would be your school and serve as a point of convergence where you would join in community with individuals who would become your teachers, your classmates, and your friends. From that moment, you have created your own rhythm of converging and diverging based on the courses you took, the teams and activities you joined, and the events you attended. And then, 2 years ago, we were all forced to diverge from our common base of this campus, to endure challenges both unpredictable and sudden. Not what we would have planned. Hopefully, this experience inspired a sense of gratitude for the gifts that convergence brings through our relationships and the joy of learning in the presence of others. Today marks a moment in which convergence and divergence exist as one. We celebrate the journey and accomplishments that led you here, and we acknowledge that from this moment, you diverge once again to pursue new convergences all your own. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Please be seated. Thank you. What a spectacular day. I think we should start with a round of applause for this day and being together. The first time that we've all been able to be together, including the whole upper school, class 4, class 3, class 2, as well as the seniors, the first time since 2019. And what a glorious day it is. Welcome. Ms. Donahue, Ms. McGee, members of the Board of Trustees, Mr. Ball, Mrs. Shagru, Mr. Ruiz, faculty, staff, alumni, students, family, friends, and members of the class of 2022. It is my honor to welcome everyone to the 2022 commencement exercises for Milton Academy in this, our 224th year. I'd like to offer a particularly warm welcome to the many parents, siblings, grandparents, relatives, and friends gathered today to help celebrate this wonderful occasion. And welcome to all of you who are tuning in from around the world, from as far as Milton, Quincy, and Boston, or as near as Milton, Quincy, and Boston, to as far as San Francisco, Chicago, Hong Kong, Madrid, and many other points around the globe. Hundreds, if not thousands of people deserve credit for helping this class arrive at this moment of celebration. And what a great, well-deserved celebration it is. I'd like to offer a special welcome to an important small group of students, members of the class of 2022 who cannot be with us in person this morning, but who are tuning in remotely from around the globe. In particular, a warm welcome to you, Ilya Khan and Chris Wu and your families. Welcome to this occasion. Although you cannot be here in person, please know that even from a distance, you are as much a part of this celebration as anyone. Each year, graduating students and I take a moment to recognize two very important groups of people whose care, support, love, and hard work have been essential in bringing us to this happy occasion. First, to you families of graduates, and I would say particularly to parents and grandparents. It is wonderful to have you with us here today to celebrate your children and grandchildren. Class of 2022, will you help me in giving them an ovation for their love and support for you? Thank you. And now to the faculty and staff, an amazing group of people who've dedicated their lives to this institution and to all of you. Please find them out here in the audience, and also join me in thanking them for all their love and support for you. Class of 2022, one more time for the faculty and staff, please. Thank you. Another tradition here at Milton is honoring our retiring colleagues at graduation. It is my great pleasure to continue that today. Esteemed colleagues, when I read your name, please stand. These faculty and staff members have collectively served Milton Academy for 172 years. Sandy Butler, lower school art teacher. Jerry Brosnahan, member of our facilities services team. Isabel Lantieri, upper school and middle school teacher. Elaine Apthorpe, upper school teacher. Ed Donahue, our school's controller. Terry Herniker, upper school teacher. And Manny Taveras, member of our facilities grounds team. Thank you and congratulations to you all. And for just a brief moment, I'm going to go slightly off a script. This is going to be the last time that I share the podium with two very special people, important people to this institution. They have their own important roles in this ceremony. But first, I want to take a moment to thank Lisa Donahue, our Board of Trustees chair, who has been the chair here at Milton for the last 7 years. Let's say a dynamic and at times challenging set of years, someone who loves Milton Academy with her whole heart and has given so much of herself selflessly to this institution. Will you help me in thanking Lisa Donahue for her time as board chair? And a person who simply loves the spotlight, Mr. David Ball, our principal, is with me up here. This will be the last time we will partner to hand out diplomas. David has been our amazing principal for the last 11 years. He will remain at Milton, but this will be his last commencement as principal. Will you join me in thanking and congratulating David for his work? And now some comments for the class of 2022. There is so much to say on this occasion, and I promise you I won't try to say it all right now. Those people, students and our distinguished guests, will have wonderful things to share, pieces of advice, I'm sure, and I want to allow the program to get to them soon, but I would be remiss if I didn't take a moment to share a thought or two with you. As we begin this program, I would first of all like to ask everyone here to be simply present in this moment. Being present is difficult for many of us, but there are times in life where it's important to to stop and soak up the joy of the moment, to celebrate. Today is one of those times. You deserve it. You have earned it. Your class has demonstrated resilience, care, and compassion for yourselves and others throughout your time at Milton, and you have navigated an extraordinarily challenging series of years during your high school experience. I am so proud of each and every one of you. We are all so proud of you, and I hope that in this moment, you are all proud of yourselves. You deserve to be. Be happy and enjoy this moment. Be present with all of us. To define a class is impossible. You are a collectively an amazing group. The diversity you represent is one of Milton's most defining and cherished characteristics. You are academicians and thespians and athletes and artists, and you have done an amazing job of defining yourselves by your own truths. And now it is time for you to go out into the world and dare to live your truths. Among the many qualities of your class that I love the most is your ability to acknowledge loss and yet also be unrelenting in your hope for the future. Beyond the massive existential threats such as racial inequality, gun violence, and the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, you have faced challenges that hit much closer to home this year. You have had to say goodbye to a beloved teacher, support friends whose country is at war, and care for your classmates as they faced deep personal struggles. You have risen to the occasion every single time. You have expressed your frustrations, your sadness, and even your anger without becoming fixed in those emotions. You have looked for the light and found it in yourselves, and you have helped to provide it for others. That is what I am perhaps most excited for you to share with the world. Many believe, and I agree, that people's true colors emerge in challenge, and your colors have shone brightly. You have cared for and supported one another with love. I hope that is the foundation on which you care for yourselves. Your class has given so much and loved so powerfully. I'd like to remind you that you cannot give to others unless first you support yourselves. If you take one thing from me today, I would like it to be the understanding that you deserve all of the generosity and kindness and love that you put into the world. Self-care is not an indulgence. It is a critical element to living a good and healthy life. Never apologize for protecting those things which sustain you, those things that bring you strength and joy and fulfillment. In protecting them, you will have the strongest foundation to give of yourselves to others. And we need you, the world needs you to do exactly that. We are so grateful for you and so proud of the class of 2022 for your strength and your resilience, your compassion, and your generosity, particularly as you navigated the extraordinary events that have defined your upper school experience. Thank you, class of 2022. Could you join me in a round of applause for these amazing people? So now on with our program. I'd like to introduce to you Karen Rothke Khan, one of our Class 1 deans, to introduce our first valedictory speaker. Thank you.
Good morning. It is a distinct honor to be with all of you today, and my absolute pleasure to introduce our first valedictory speaker, Tyler Chan. When Tyler gave a short preview of today's speech to his classmates in hopes of being chosen to speak at this ceremony, his peers started to laugh within the first 5 seconds of Tyler's speech. I quickly realized that many in the room still recognized the opening lines of Tyler's Class 4 talk as he repeated those same words to start his famous. Perhaps today we'll once again hear those opening lines about a floating fly ball. What struck me in that moment of friendly laughter was Tyler's ability to make a lasting impression on the people around him. 2 lines in, and his peers knew it was that memorable talk about baseball. Whether hearing him speak that one particular time as a freshman, competing alongside him on the speech team most weekends, sharing a classroom with him, or listening to him for the first time today, people remember Tyler. His words, his contributions, his smile, they leave an indelible mark. Tyler's classmates and friends know him to be sarcastic and thoughtful. His teachers rely on him to advance the discussion in their classes. His current advisor says Tyler's the one who gets the ball rolling in advisory and keeps them laughing with his shameless plugs for Philosophy Club. His former advisor said she has never worked with a student with such a powerful combination of self-confidence, self-awareness, calm, and perspective. Please welcome Tyler Chan.
Thank you, Ms. Rothke-Kahn, for your introduction. Thank you, Ms. McGee, Mr. Bland, Mr. Ball, Mr. Grew, Mr. Ruiz, Ms. Donahue, and all the members of the Board of Trustees. And thank you to my teachers, my classmates, and my family, and everyone who made this day possible. One of my favorite videos is called The Everest Discrepancy. It opens by talking about Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay, the first 2 people to ever reach Everest summit. The idea of beating them was so alluring that another man, George Mallory, was willing to risk his life and that of another young climber, Andrew Irvine, to beat them to the top. In 1924, Mallory was an aging 37-year-old climber and knew that this attempt at the top might be his last because of his age. Even the most experienced climbers can't just climb Everest at any time of year. A 1-week window in May or June, right before the monsoon winds, is the ideal time. On the 7th or 8th of June 1924, Mallory knew the next day might be the last of perfect weather, or the first of the monsoon winds. Summit fever is a phenomenon that hits climbers when they can see the summit. An impossible feat looks them in the eye, or at least impossible at the time. Now, even I, with all my Project Adventure climbing experience, can reach the top with a little training. But those climbers cannot help but continue. On that last day, Mallory and Irvine disappeared into the storm, trying to climb one of the mountain's final steps, never to be seen again. Mallory attempted to ascend with an unproven technique using oxygen canisters and likely left his camera behind instead of taking the pictures he promised to his family, a choice which limits our ability to know what happened to him to this day, or even if he reached the summit. Now, you're probably wondering, Tyler, we're graduating here from Milton Academy. The goal of this place is to teach us to be better people, leaders, and students, not climbers. But what happened to Mallory and Irvine can serve as an important example as you cross this stage and enter the next phase of your life. The summits that we can reach as Milton graduates and as great people can become so enticing that we may forget what else is important, or we may even lose ourselves along the way and never reach the summit. As superstitious of a person as I am, I acknowledge that the friendships and connections that I built aren't out of luck alone, but carving out the time to grow close with those people and meet them. If I had spent every moment of my time here focused on the summit that we're atop today, I never would have made those relationships that I cherish. They aren't something that I could have stumbled into no matter how much I did things in sets of 8, wore lucky socks, or knocked on wood. But Milton has pushed us to reach the summit of wherever we're headed, even if it's not Everest. Graduating with me today are future collegiate athletes, incredible students, and imaginative creatives. The great peaks available to us as Milton alums can make us very susceptible to summit fever. And make no mistake, I'm absolutely including myself. Ask the college counseling office why my list of schools to apply to got longer than a CVS receipt. For a week leading up to January 1st, I barely stepped outside. I won't lie and use a cliche excuse. I won't say I'm a perfectionist or someone who, once they find something they love, enters an inescapable zone. Because I'm not. Rather, I can get so anxious that I'm not doing everything I can to reach the summit that I go to unreasonable lengths to make sure that I have no regrets. As students of this school and families that sent your children here, I'm sure you know that feeling all too well. Do you really think, though, that George Mallory had no regrets as he reached the point of no return? I at least imagine that an unfortunate clarity must have hit him. He was a man with a family who a young climber had trusted with his life. Sure, Mallory knew the risks, but until those final moments, I don't think he truly weighed them. In my philosophy and literature class, one of the topics we kept returning to was the idea of being condemned to be free, an existentialist theory by Jean-Paul Sartre. As the slight philosophy nerd I am, and the head of the best club on campus, Philosophy Club, this idea was something that I kept returning to this spring. Trying to reach the top, we can restrict our freedom, and it seems comfortable because limitless freedom is terrifying, as Sartre says. Faced with how much freedom we have, it's very tempting to limit ourselves by focusing on just one goal: a corner office, the white picket fence, or a first edition vinyl of The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Doing that makes life less scary, but you'll lose the chance to do the small things on the side that make you happy. A life where we explore every avenue of possibility is incredibly overwhelming, but we shouldn't be afraid to access our freedom, to think about more than the summit. I can't think of anyone more afraid of freedom than the version of myself when I first came to Milton 6 years ago. Anyone who knew me at that time may have sensed that I came here with one goal in mind: to focus on my work and mostly keep to myself. I wore the same black hoodie almost every day and wasn't particularly interested in the middle school social scene, which may have actually been a good choice, let alone standing in front of you today or dedicating so much of my time at Milton to sharing through performance or even how I conduct myself every day. Just saying hi to people I know in the halls on the way to my classes and documenting every moment with photos — I've taken nearly 6,000 this school year — makes me feel like I'm creating moments along the way to wherever I'm headed and keeping them to document and learn from again later. Realizing how much the people around me here, you all, had to offer fundamentally changed my mindset since I first stepped into Ware Hall. And I believe that change has made me a happier, more fulfilled person as I get ready to receive my diploma. So that's why I ask you, the class of 2022, please weigh the risks and consider what you may be leaving behind by trying to reach the summit too fast like Mallory. Yes, you could take away that slow and steady wins the race, like the first men to reach the summit or the tortoise and the hare. But that's not really what I'm trying to say. More so, I hope that you've considered that by getting too absorbed in your goals, you may fail to also live a beautiful life outside of them. Don't wait until it's too late to recognize that. You are those incredibly talented students, artists, and athletes, as I mentioned before, but you're also incredible people. I trust that you'll not let that go to waste. We can reach the top, but we can also make our way up carefully, do more of what we love, and take some pictures along the way. To make this moment about more than just the summit and include all of you in it, I think it's only right that we're a part of my last photo of my time here at Milton. Say cheese. Thank you.
Good morning. I am so grateful and pleased to share the stage with the class of 2022 and to introduce our second valedictory speaker, Carol Querido. Carol is truly a powerhouse on this campus. Anyone who's been fortunate to sit around the Harkness table with her has seen her diligent and committed approach to the work of a Milton education. One teacher describes Carol as a consummate academic, but makes sure to add, though her scholarly process is no nonsense, her spirit is not. In all of her work, she leads with her big heart and abundant kindness for those around her. As I've gotten to know Carol, I've witnessed that her appreciation for learning is much broader than academic exercises, worrying about grades, or getting into the right college. Carol loves learning because she sees the meaningful impact it can have on a community and the world. She's an eloquent speaker who breathes power into her words and cares deeply about making her message count and reaching her audience. Our campus has been so lucky to see Carol spearheading community engagement projects, working to curate programming for Black History Month, and boldly opening this year's dance concert with the hip hop piece she collaborated on. It comes as no surprise that the class selected Carol to speak today, and I'm grateful we all get to hear from her one more time. Please join me in welcoming Carol Querido.
Thank you, Mr. Delgadio. Thank you, Ms. McGee, for taking the time to be here. Thank you to the administration, teachers, and families. And a special thank you to the class of 2022 for allowing me to carry this honor of imparting a few final words to you all. Never in a million years would I have thought that I, a first-generation African-American, would be standing in front of Milton Academy's class of 2022 giving a commencement speech. But never in a million years did I think I'd be trying so hard to prove that I have what it takes to be standing here. I said, as I stood on King Theater's stage delivering my 8th grade graduation speech. Quite the provocative opening line by middle school me, if I do say so myself. And yes, for those of you grimacing at this admission, I have indeed been at Milton since middle school. Here I stand 4 years later in a fundamentally similar position, but a fundamentally different person. There was a time in my high school career where all I could think about was this moment, graduating, grinding so hard to get that diploma. I shut myself off from, well, I just shut myself off. No feelings, no real excitement, just going through the motions. I'm sure many of you can relate. And I'm here to tell you that it doesn't get better, but you can. Society has a way of compelling us to compartmentalize our emotions, forcing us to put our bona fides aside and hypercapitalize our opportunities. Milton is certainly no exception. For most of my years here, I defined myself solely by the work I produced and the grades I received. In the process, I conditioned myself to view Milton in mechanical terms. I was constructing a perception of myself that asked, first and foremost, if all of this was meant for me. I didn't give myself room to be human. For so long, my time at Milton felt like a test of whether or not I could handle the rigor, a test of whether or not I could blend in, a test of whether or not I was good enough. And I was just starting to think that I was, until last year. Last spring, I nearly failed, completely. I was this close to repeating junior year, like minutes away from repeating junior year. It wasn't because I had earned bad grades, it was because there was no work to grade. I had trouble completing assignments, adhering to extended deadlines, and showing up to class. As everything snowballed, I was overshadowed by a type of dejection and defeat that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. Meanwhile, I had worked so hard to build this narrative of the Carol I wanted you all to know. The Carol who was perfect and prompt and an absolute academic weapon. An incomplete narrative. As last year's seniors were walking across this stage in June, I was begging my teachers for extensions. This took my imposter syndrome to new depths. I was so ashamed of the low point I had reached that I didn't have the guts to tell my family or any of my friends. I didn't know what to tell them, in fact, because I didn't really know how I got there. At that point in time, I thought my future had dissolved into a murky puddle of unfulfilled potential, and I had no hope of making a comeback. I lost sleep thinking about what that year had meant for my college prospects, for my rapport with my family, for my own idea of myself. Though nothing about that moment was funny, I look back now and laugh. I realize that the person I've grown into today would have never existed without the person from last spring. We undergo the most of our character development when we hit rock bottom. Our strength is in our weakness, in our ability to fall apart, to give in, to feel. We must confront our deepest insecurities. We must share our vulnerability so that our life does not become a lie to those around us, a lie to ourselves. I know that each of us has a dimensionality far greater than what we choose to showcase. We are trained to disguise ourselves in cloaks of invincibility, to have it all made in the shade. This was the perfect recipe for my inevitable breakdown last year. No sugar, just spice, and absolutely nothing nice. If my 8th grade self could have peeked into the future and seen the torrent that lay ahead in high school, she'd have probably given up. But we are not invincible. Our disguises, try as they might, are not designed to take on the weights of our world. Now I realize the true worth in the ebbs and flows of life. The valleys are just as beautiful as the peaks. I won't lie and say that my identity as a Black woman hasn't made my ability to be vulnerable harder, because it certainly has. Sometimes it feels like Milton isn't meant for me. I am standing here, ready to receive my diploma in just a few moments, but I cannot confidently call this place my school, rather a school I merely attended. I never felt like I passed the test I referenced earlier. I always felt like a stranger in my own skin as I walked around campus through a sea of white and wealthy unfamiliarity. My raging imposter syndrome has not simmered down, and I don't think it ever will. As I reach new stages in life and accomplish more and more, that same 8th grade girl who tried so hard to prove herself still remains. But something is different. I am standing here today because I found the courage to stop hiding from my insecurities, to stop lying, to embrace my struggle, even if it meant letting my guard down for Milton to break me. Now, although there is so much power in being vulnerable, this alone won't save you. We must be willing to reimagine vulnerability, to redefine it for ourselves. We must rid our vulnerability of the shame and guilt that cradles it so naturally. Of course, this is all easier said than done. Life does not provide a linear path to fulfillment. Things don't always get progressively better. They may get worse before they get better, and then they may get way worse, and then way better. You'll take one step forward and 3,000 steps back. You will need to learn it the hard way. It's the only way to learn it. Throughout the trials and tribulations of life, we must encourage ourselves to be susceptible to struggle. That is the price we must be willing to pay to live authentically, to live truly. Dare to be true has come to mean a lot to me. Though I've made copious jokes and snarky remarks about the corniness of the phrase, I stand here today fully embracing it. This may sound dramatic, but it changed my life. Turns out the only truth I had to prove was that I was strong enough to dare, to live boldly and unapologetically, to let go of my grind set and feel. I won't promise that what you've heard in this speech is the tried and true guide to living a successful life, Don't go telling everyone that a senior at Milton Academy told you to expose your insecurities, and that's why you've been oversharing with strangers. But I do want you all to see the merit in living a full life, a life that does not shy away from struggle, but welcomes it, regardless of your identity. After all, hardships along the way are what make great accomplishments great. Milton will cultivate your academic interests. It will nurture your intellectual curiosity. It will challenge you to be an extrovert. It could break you. And if you're strong enough, you'll let it. Thank you.
Wow. Mr. Bland, Mr. Ball, distinguished members of the faculty, staff, Board of Trustees, and of course, our fabulous class of 2022. I am so pleased. Yeah, can we get another round of applause, right? Just remember today, you cannot get applauded enough, class of 2022. I'm so pleased to be with you here today and to help celebrate this wonderful event. And this morning, I have the very distinct honor of introducing this year's commencement speaker, Heather C. McGee, Milton class of 1997. An author and public policy advocate, Heather designs and promotes solutions to inequality in America, revealing what individuals, governments, and the private sector can do to help to live up to its ideals. For almost 20 years, she helped build the nonpartisan policy organization Demos, serving 4 years as its president. Her incredible book, absolutely incredible, The Sum of Us, What Racism Costs Everyone and How We Can Prosper Together, spent 10 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list and was longlisted for the National Book Award and the Carnegie Medal for Excellence. The Sum of Us shares Heather's personal journey, exploring historical roots of policies that shape America, and aims to help all of us rethink what could be possible for our future. As we all know, our nation continues to grapple with racial injustice. Heather's book underscores that racism fuels bad policymaking and makes our economy worse, harming all of us, not just the communities of color. In The Sum of Us, Heather provides evidence of how racism has been used to generate support for public policies that preserve inequality at the expense of nearly everyone, and how solidarity and cross-racial coalitions can produce the dividend that is needed to benefit all of us. Heather is also the chair of the Board of Color of Change, America's largest online racial justice organization, and volunteers for several other boards in the fields of philanthropy and social justice. She holds a BA in American Studies from Yale University, a JD from the University of California at Berkeley School of Law, and has been awarded several honorary degrees. She lives in Brooklyn with her husband, who she met right here at Milton Academy in class 3, and their 3-year-old son. We are indeed so fortunate to have Heather here with us today. So please join me in giving her enormous welcome back to campus.
Good morning. Thank you, Lisa, for the warm introduction. Thank you, Todd, for making a phone call to invite me here on behalf of the seniors. Tyler and Carol, that was amazing. Can we have one more round of applause for the best speeches of the day? I want to congratulate the class of 2022. I really, really remember what it felt like to be where you are, although we were oriented this way. When I graduated from Milton in 1997 on this day, I did a whole bunch of things. I thanked my mother for giving me the gift of this extraordinary education. I dare say it was the best one I've had, and you heard the other places where I went to school. I promised I would stay in touch with my favorite dorm parents and teachers, and it's a promise that I kept, thankfully, because my English teacher from senior year gave me the advice about how to structure this speech, and I took it. Thank you. I packed up my triple loft in Robbins and loaded into day students' cars. Yes, Robbins girls. I had a paper map of New England, and we used it for over a week of grad parties. Enough said about that. And at the end of it all, I met back up with my girlfriends, day students and boarders, and we didn't go back to our homes for the summer. Instead, we moved in together in a 3-bedroom house on Martha's Vineyard. I'd found a listing in the Boston Globe newspaper, and I'd used the Robbins Hall payphones to call, sound a little bit older, and secure an 8-week rental for 8 girls. My Milton besties and I, some of whom are here today, the rest are watching on live stream, we had decided that we weren't done yet. We weren't ready to part. We stayed the whole summer, unlike the kids in the Andover house and the Choate house. And unlike them, we got jobs. We worked at a grocery store, a gas station, a smoothie shop. I developed surprising forearm strength from scooping ice cream at Mad Martha's. When we weren't thumbing down cars to get to work, which is actually how we got around on the island, or working, it was all about the water. Swimming, jumping off bridges, making bonfires on the beach, learning to body surf. Looking back on it now, I can say with confidence that it was the best, sweetest summer of my life. And that group of girls are still in near daily contact with one another on an explosive group text thread. And we support each other through life's ebbs and flows. I thought about that summer of swimming 20 years later when I was doing research for my book. And I came across a story about a boy named Tommy Cummings. Like me, Tommy just wanted to swim with his friends. His friends were normal Baltimore boys, 1 black, 2 white. The summer was hot and muggy, that kind of heat that you get in the mid-Atlantic, and air conditioning was hard to come by. But the big, free public swimming pool beckoned. The only problem was there were no public pools where they could all get in and swim together. It was 1953, and the public pools in Baltimore, Maryland were segregated. So Tommy and his friends took a dip in the Patapsco River. No lifeguard, no signs indicating the depths, just the open, rushing water. And that day, in order to swim with his friends, Tommy drowned. He was one of 3 Black Baltimore children to drown because of segregation in swimming that summer. So the NAACP sued, arguing that Black families' tax dollars had paid for the public pools as well, and so they should all be open to all of Baltimore. These pool integration lawsuits swept the country in the 1950s, but something strange happened. Many towns and cities, and not just in Jim Crow South, instead of complying with court integration orders for the public swimming pools, decided to drain them instead. They literally drained out the water of their public pools, backed up truckloads of dirt, seeded it over with grass. They destroyed a public good rather than share it. What that meant was everybody lost out. Racism has a cost for everyone. I call this phenomenon drained pool politics. It's when some people are encouraged to reject all things public, from public infrastructure to more figurative forms of collective action through government, because the public includes people they've been taught to disdain and distrust. It's a kind of racialized zero-sum thinking, this false fear that progress for people of color necessarily comes as a threat to white people. And it's the biggest threat to our nation today, this zero-sum thinking. We see it in the threats to our shared democracy, as January 6th showed us, and our ability to solve big problems together, from inequality to climate change, as I write in my book. But here's the good news. When people do reject zero-sum lies and are willing to roll up their sleeves and link arms across lines of race, the sky is the limit for what's possible. You see, it turns out that diversity is a superpower. Research shows that diverse groups are more creative, better at problem solving. See, people bring their different lived experiences and ways of looking at the world, and together they can see more sides of a problem and come up with more innovative solutions. The data also shows that students who attend diverse schools and have meaningful, authentic relationship across lines of race have better learning outcomes and higher levels of critical thinking. And then the benefit of these relationships ladder up to society, right? Because the challenges, the biggest challenges that we face are going to take collective action in problem solving. Global pandemics, climate change, inequality, democracy, and in our increasingly diverse nation and globe, that collective is bound to be a multiracial one. On this day, I can't help but think about the collision of cultures that made my family possible. Right here at this lectern, it might actually be the same piece of wood. A Muslim woman, a graphic designer born in Pakistan, gave the class of 1997's commencement address. Her name was Samina Qureshi. She was a palpably impressive woman who could charm anyone she met. And she had made a career using her art to communicate across the globe. Samina was also the mother of 2 Milton graduates, and the youngest was in my class. His name was Qasim, and he was the messy, disheveled, forgetful best friend. He was the day student who would pick me up in his car and take me to movies at Coolidge Corner, get me signed out for parties. And of course, he's now my husband.
Sure.
And he's here with our son, Riaz, a Blackistani 3-year-old. Whom none of his grandparents could ever have imagined into being when they were growing up in Karachi and Alabama. So here's my advice to you, class of 22. When you have a chance to dive and take a big leap off of one of life's diving boards, go ahead, dive right in. So right now you're leaving Milton exceedingly confident about the subjects you excelled in, calculus, modern comparative literature, Spanish, but someday pretty soon you'll get a course catalog and see bias in machine learning, Sikh sculpture, medieval Jewish prayer texts, food fermentation, and microbial cooking across cultures. These are all actual college courses. Go ahead, dive right in. Because cognitive exploration, fluency in other traditions and disciplines, it all makes the mind sharper and expands the heart. As you get older and find new circles of friends, there might be a night when you're hanging out and you'll look around and see that maybe the people who've gravitated toward one another are a little similar. Dive right in. Go ahead, join some club from a culture that's not your own, or swipe right on a person with a different background whose smile you like. Because when you love people who don't look like you, who don't come from the same places as you, your humanity grows. Now, you may be asking, why is this advocate who cares about public policy and laws and government programs giving me friendship and love advice? Well, I actually think it's all really connected. When people of different backgrounds don't know one another, don't trust one another, when we lack empathy and solidarity, our public policy reflects that. And it hurts all of us. So here's the thing. I want you to see this opportunity. So many resources have been poured into you by teachers who will still know your name in 25 years. Teachers who will remember the first day they met you. By groundspeople and staff and administrators who keep this being like one of the most beautiful built environments to spend time in the world. So much has been poured into you. And I think that they do it not out of a sense that you've made some sort of contract. They've made a contract with your parents, right? Tuition. But because of a sense that what they pour into you, that you will give it back to the world. And from the little bit that I've gotten to know members of the class of 22, I am fully confident that you are going to go out there starting tomorrow, maybe with a week of grad parties. I'm not going to ask any questions about what you do between now and your first day at college or gap year or whatever you're doing next. But I have all the confidence in the world, as do all these people who love you, that when you get the chance, you're going to dive right in. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Heather. And also to Tyler and Carol, thank you so much for your amazing, amazing presentations today. Now it is time for the awarding of diplomas. Mr. Ball.
James LeCompte Burton. Emma Chijun Tung. Barbara Abigail Bonato. Christopher David Scanlon. Tadeus Augustus Bartol Noble. Ileana Rosario Diaz. Amin Ahmad Sheikh. Jillian Celia Tavera. Jack Christopher Wilson. Huck Henderson DeBow. Phyllis Du Bois Ladd. Elliot Russell Smith. Ria Singh. And receiving the 14th diploma, Jake Morris Tebow. Tyler Anthony Chan. Anna Catherine Cressman. Teddy Ellis. Zachary Sardi Santos. Ann Fallon O'Malley. Eric Matthew Clark. And one of our remote students, Wu Tianka. Louis Bartholomew Casagrande III. Olivia Ann Greenaway. Alec Prentice Hamblett, whose diploma will be presented by his mother, Kate Hamblett, a member of the English department at Milton Academy. Emmanuel Ifeyichukwu Uzubufi. Chenji Liu. Alexander Thomas Godwin. Emmeline Grace Cobb. Jake Ryan Cardonic. Simone Muiz, whose diploma will be presented by their mother, Vanessa Cohen Gibbons, a member of the Administrative Council at Milton Academy. Joshua Oluwadamilola Olatunji. Dawn Tran. Theodore Jacob Acuna Sunshine, whose diploma will be presented by his father, Gabriel Sunshine, a trustee of Milton Academy. Yavuz Shazad. Elizabeth Jessica Staller. Evelyn Chow. Samuel Henry Dunn. Catherine Rose McNulty. Haley Jameson Englert. Peter Perry. Junyoung Ben Kim. Ingrid Elmsley Krishnan. George English Sherbrooke, whose diploma will be presented by his grandfather, Ross Sherbrooke, a member of the class of 1954. J. Richard Georgia Lee. Zara Kali Sahai. Key Aston Chan. Claire Minglai Malela, whose diploma will be presented by her father, Ravi Malela, a trustee of Milton Academy. Dina Sara Cousteau. Lily Eve Cream. Gus Allen Dudley. Ava Malini McNeil. Morgan Jacqueline Hackett. Andrew Sang. Singya Chen. Bradley McCabe Holcomb. Sophia Ann Putnam, whose diploma will be presented by her grandmother, Heather Putnam, a member of the class of 1961. Martin Stephen Arias Castillo. Caroline Ashley Baldwin. Frederick Duncan Berkeley V. Emily Grace Evans. Duncan William McDonald. Jackson Potter. Carly Lauren Bell. Daniel Joshua Siegel. Piper Elizabeth Marshall. Allison Chow. Sarah Elizabeth George. John Benton Hull. John Matters. Catherine Burke Anderson. Samuel Kinnicott Borgard. Conrad Herbert Brown. Nathan Dean Vanich, whose diploma will be presented by his grandparents, John Bildorf, a member of the class of 1963, and Jane Lyman Bildorf, a member of the class of 1965. Yanan Jiang. Abraham Max David Wyatt. James Ryan Way. Lillian Danielle Hanley. Audrey Catherine Volpe. Ethan Brady Davidson. So Young Lee. Henry Weston Pikus. Anne Blodgett Winter, whose diploma will be presented by her grandmother, Catherine Blodgett Winter, a member of the class of 1959. Campbell Abelo. Ian Doran Terrell. Caroline Blake Kanata. Barrett Francis Duvall. Luke Garrett Randolph. Andy Taihue Jong. Calvin Bonamo. Leticia Lowndes Maybank, whose diploma will be presented by her grandfather, Kenyon C. Bolton, a member of the class of 1961. Sam Alexander Jaffe. Ida Ayu Sakira Hermawan. Matthew Jaden Barron. Anthony Rong Zhao. Finn Larkin Hackett. Allison Mary Ethna Blake. Jackson Joseph Smith. John Frederick Kulo. Tildy Jakes. Catherine Ann Prather. Juhan Wong. Ava Gray Scheibler. Calvin Luke LaRoe. Jane Mendelson Feeney. Darren Wong. Gavin Elliott Randolph. Catherine Ann Stutzman. And one of our remote students, Ilya Khan. Neha Yogesh Modak. Zoe Zimmerman Schleifer. Joshua Michael Leibowitz. Catherine Elizabeth Shee. Zachary DeSola Poole. Laura Metri Metri. William Du Bois. Greg Yao. Lauren Daisy McLaughlin. Philip Okafor. Kirsten Gio Ting. William Athanasius Taft. Adine Julia Salmon. Matthias Dallas Fowler. James Patrick Waitley Good. Zachary Porter Stain. Victoria Maria Fawcett. Grace Shaw Paneris, whose diploma will be presented by her mother, Nina Paneris, a member of the admissions office at Milton Academy. Rajan Mahir Takor. McCoy Lewis Devonish. Carol Elizabeth Herrera Carrido. Ria Anand. Isabel Pavlonis. Nathan Joseph Dixon. Victoria Erica Cheng. Dylan Burton Arivian. Cameron Hong Edgar, whose diploma will be presented by his father, Michael Edgar, a member of the science department at Milton Academy. Je Sing Dieng. Corey Benjamin Wright. Ava Rose D'Ambrosio. Maxwell Beck Seelig. Boyd Nako. Quinn Sine Smith. Katya Mikolova. Mary Michelle Callahan. William John Bordis. Elizabeth Walton Waterfall. Sneha Jaswal. Henri Raphael Richter. Tamsin Claire Connerly. Noah John Lippa. Ines Derisi Katwini. James Elliott Millington. Sarah Elizabeth Mashal. Talia Tingway Kriegel. Sydney Eugenia Hyacinth. Bankuri Dayal. Elliot Jaffe Strauss. Anna Hansi Kotler. Noah Kenneth Brenner. Francis Lovett Corcoran. Emma Thorne Zuccotti. Kwabena Jack Basari Adai. Mallory Ray Rubin. Samuel Kaufman. Lucy Brooks Liness. Gunnar James Peterson. Amelia Nicole Lee. Julianne Barbara Woodward. Elodie Irina Root. Griffin Burke McGilvray. Zoe Jane Garrett. Wyatt Matthias Wally. Talia Maya Sherman. Luke Michael Thorban. Emma Victoria Pato. Joshua Guliansky. Charlotte Rhodes Torrey. Rebecca Kylander Cody. Jack Stanley Leitzis. Stephanie Fuentes. Miles Deritu. Zoe Mima Hurd, whose diploma will be presented by her father, Andre Hurd, a member of the Dean's Office at Milton Academy. Sophia Andrea Mack. Maya Renee Lampley. And with the final diploma, Ricardly Rodi Dwasheen. Let's have another round of applause for the class of 2022. Just before we recess out, no event like this can happen without a lot of people doing a lot of work to make sure that everything is done just right. I'd like to thank in particular Katrin Ponchal, Corey Butler, and Paula Bonarigo, as well as Genevieve Healy and our audio and visual team, the development and alumni affairs office and the admission office for helping to usher everyone in, and Steve Zanino and our incredible facilities team. Can we thank everyone? And now the recessional will take place. The podium will leave first, then followed by the board, and the faculty and staff will create our line at the end, followed by our graduates. Everyone else, if you could stay put until the entire class recesses out and you can meet them out on the lawn. It is time to celebrate. One more time for the class of 2022. The whole music out and then we'll lead you out.
Thank you.